The machine that changed World War II tank warfare forever. World War II was a war of machines, but among the thousands of weapons built between 1939 and 1945, one machine fundamentally changed how tanks were designed, deployed, and feared on the battlefield. It wasn't just powerful, it redefined armored warfare. This is the story of the Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger I, the tank that changed World War II tank warfare forever. Before the Tiger, the early tank war. At the start of World War II, tank combat looked very different. Germany relied on lighter tanks like the Panzer III and IV during its Blitzkrieg campaigns in Poland and France. Speed, coordination, and radio communication mattered more than heavy armor. The strategy worked brilliantly. But in 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union, and everything changed. On the Eastern Front, German forces encountered something unexpected: the Soviet T-34. With sloped armor, wide tracks for mud and snow, and a powerful 76mm gun, the T-34 shocked German commanders. German anti-tank weapons struggled to penetrate it. Suddenly, Germany was no longer technologically superior in armor. They needed something bigger, stronger, deadlier. The birth of a monster. In response, Germany developed a new heavy tank, one designed to dominate any battlefield encounter. The result was the Tiger I. Introduced in 1942, it carried the devastating 88mm KWK-36 gun, a weapon capable of destroying enemy tanks at extreme distances. Its thick frontal armor made it nearly invulnerable to most Allied tank guns at the time. When the Tiger appeared, it didn't just fight tanks, it terrified them. Psychological warfare on tracks. The Tiger didn't just change battlefield mechanics, it changed morale. Allied tank crews feared it. Reports spread quickly. An 88 has knocked out 3 Shermans at long range. Its reputation often grew larger than reality. In North Africa and on the Eastern Front, a single Tiger could halt advances until artillery or air support was called in. The tank became a symbol, a steel predator, and that psychological impact reshaped tactics, forcing the Allies to adapt. Before the Tiger, many Allied tanks prioritized mobility and mass production. After the Tiger appeared, things shifted. The United States accelerated development of more powerful guns and improved tank destroyers. The British focused on equipping tanks with high-velocity 17-pounder guns. The Soviets upgunned the T-34 into the T-34/85 variant. In short, the Tiger forced evolution. It proved that armor thickness and long-range firepower could dominate open terrain. A new era of heavy armor. The Tiger's success encouraged Germany to pursue even heavier designs. This led to machines like the Tiger II, even more armored, even more powerful. Tank warfare began shifting toward heavier armor, bigger guns, increased engagement distances. The battlefield was no longer just about speed and maneuver. It was about who could see and destroy the enemy first, from farther away. The fatal weakness. But the Tiger had flaws. It was expensive, mechanically complex, difficult to repair, heavy and prone to breakdown. While terrifying in combat, it required enormous resources. Germany could never produce enough of them. Meanwhile, the Allies produced thousands of tanks quickly and reliably. The Tiger changed tank warfare tactically, but strategically, it could not save Germany. Legacy beyond World War II. Despite its limitations, the Tiger left a permanent mark on armored doctrine. After World War II, tank designers around the world prioritized high-velocity main guns, heavier armor protection, long-range engagement capability. Modern main battle tanks reflect many lessons first emphasized by the Tiger. It redefined what a dominant tank looked like. The machine that changed the battlefield. The Tiger I didn't win the war, but it changed how war was fought. It forced innovation. It created fear. It pushed every major power to rethink armor design. And for a moment in 1942 to 1943, it ruled the battlefield. Baptism by fire, Leningrad, 1942. The first combat deployment of the Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger I came near Leningrad in late 1942. The terrain was harsh. Mud swallowed vehicles. Mechanical failures exposed weaknesses. The Tiger was powerful, but not yet perfected. Several early Tigers broke down before even reaching combat. This revealed a hard truth. Power means nothing without reliability. Still, when the Tiger's 88mm gun fired successfully, it demonstrated terrifying accuracy and penetration at long distances. The era of long-range armored duels had begun. North Africa, the desert predator. In Tunisia, Tigers faced British and American forces. Open desert terrain favored long-range combat, exactly where the Tiger excelled. Allied tank crews inside the M4 Sherman quickly learned a dangerous lesson. The Tiger could destroy them before they were even in effective firing range. To counter this, Allied forces relied on artillery bombardment, airstrikes, coordinated multi-tank. The clash at Kursk. The Tiger's most famous battlefield was the Battle of Kursk in 1943, the largest tank battle in history. Here, Tigers faced mass formations of Soviet armor, including upgraded versions of the T-34. Individually, Tigers were superior in firepower and armor, but Kursk exposed something critical. Numbers matter. Soviet forces deployed vast minefields, anti-tank guns, and overwhelming armor formations. Even the most powerful machines struggled when surrounded by dozens of enemies. The Tiger changed tank warfare, but it could not change mathematics. Engineering brilliance and burden. Technically, the Tiger was extraordinary. 100 millimeters thick frontal armor, 88 millimeters high-velocity gun, advanced optics for targeting, interleaved road wheels for weight distribution. But all that innovation came at a cost. The tank weighed over 50 tons, bridges collapsed under it, fuel consumption was massive, maintenance was constant. In many cases, Tigers were abandoned due to mechanical failure rather than enemy fire. This revealed the paradox of heavy armor. The stronger you become, the more fragile your logistics. Changing Allied strategy. The Tiger forced Allied nations to rethink tank doctrine entirely. Instead of simply improving medium tanks, they began focusing on dedicated tank destroyers, high-velocity anti-tank guns, improved coordination with air power. The British introduced Firefly variants of the Sherman, armed with powerful 17-pounder guns. The Soviets developed heavier tanks like the IS series. The arms race had begun, and the Tiger had started it. The myth versus reality. Over time, the Tiger gained near-legendary status. Stories spread of single Tigers destroying entire armored columns. Some accounts were exaggerated, but the psychological effect was real. When Allied forces reported a Tiger sighting, caution intensified. Even if only a few were present, the fear they generated was disproportionate to their numbers. The Tiger didn't just change tactics, it changed perception. A turning point in tank philosophy. Before the Tiger, tanks were tools of mobility and breakthrough. After the Tiger, they became symbols of dominance and long-range destruction. Tank warfare evolved into a balance between firepower, armor protection, mobility, production capacity. The Tiger pushed the scale heavily toward firepower and armor, and the world took notice. Closing buildup for final part. The Tiger was a revolution, but revolutions often carry consequences. Did it ultimately strengthen Germany's war effort, or did its cost and complexity accelerate defeat? In the next part, we explore whether the machine that changed tank warfare forever also changed Germany's fate. The strategic illusion. The Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger I was terrifying in combat. Its 88mm gun could destroy most Allied tanks before they could effectively respond. Its thick armor made it nearly invulnerable from the front. On the battlefield, it felt unstoppable. But wars are not won by single machines. They are won by systems. And this is where the Tiger's legend begins to crack. Too powerful for its own good. Each Tiger was expensive and time-consuming to build. Germany produced roughly 1,300 Tiger I tanks during the entire war. In comparison, the United States produced over 49,000 M4 Sherman tanks. The Soviet Union built tens of thousands of T-34 tanks. The numbers tell a brutal story. For every Tiger destroyed, several more Allied tanks could replace their losses quickly. Germany could not. The logistics nightmare. The Tiger consumed enormous amounts of fuel. It required constant maintenance. Its heavy weight damaged roads and strained bridges. In many cases, Tigers were lost not because of enemy fire, but because they broke down and had to be abandoned. A weapon that powerful demanded a supply chain Germany could no longer sustain, especially by 1944, when Allied bombing campaigns crippled industrial output. Power without support becomes a liability. The psychological weapon. Despite its flaws, the Tiger's psychological impact cannot be overstated. When Allied soldiers heard reports of a Tiger nearby, caution increased immediately. Entire operations slowed. Air support was requested. Artillery was prioritized. Even when only a handful were present, they influenced decisions far beyond their actual numbers. In that sense, the Tiger was more than a tank. It was a symbol. The arms race it sparked. The Tiger forced every major power to rethink tank design. After encountering it, the British upgraded Shermans with powerful 17-pounder guns. The Soviets accelerated heavy tank development like the IS series. The Americans improved anti-tank weapons and coordination tactics. Tank warfare shifted permanently toward heavier guns and stronger armor. The Tiger helped define what modern armored dominance looked like. Evolution toward the modern tank. After World War II, tank design philosophy evolved into the concept of the main battle tank, balancing firepower, protection, and mobility. After the war, reputation versus reality. When World War II ended, debates began almost immediately. Veterans shared stories of burning tanks. Critics compared armor thickness charts. Historians analyzed battlefield statistics. And once again, the M4 Sherman was judged harshly. It was called undergunned, thinly armored, outmatched by German heavy tanks. But numbers told a different story. When analysts studied actual combat reports, they found something important. Most tank losses on all sides were caused by anti-tank guns, mines, artillery, airstrikes, not by tank versus tank duels. The myth of constant Sherman versus Panther showdowns was exaggerated after the war. Survivability was more complex. Early Shermans had a reputation for catching fire when penetrated, but improvements like wet ammunition storage significantly reduced that risk. By late 1944, Shermans were statistically no more likely to burn than many other tanks. Meanwhile, German heavy tanks often suffered catastrophic mechanical failures long before enemy fire destroyed them. Survivability wasn't just about armor thickness, it was about maintenance, logistics, recovery systems, crew replacement. And in those areas, the Allies had an advantage. The industrial war was the real war. World War II was not just fought on battlefields. It was fought in factories. American production lines could produce tanks faster than Germany could destroy them. Entire damaged Shermans could be repaired, refitted, returned to service. Germany, under constant bombing, struggled to maintain output. In the long run, the tank that could be built and repaired quickly became more valuable than the one that looked terrifying on paper. Lessons for modern warfare. The Sherman story influenced military thinking for decades. Modern armored doctrine now emphasizes reliability, ease of maintenance, interoperability with other units, combined arms coordination. Even today's advanced tanks reflect lessons learned from World War II. Because military planners understand something clearly, a weapon system must fit the strategy of the nation using it. The emotional truth. For the soldiers inside it, the Sherman wasn't a symbol. It was survival. Crews trusted it because it usually started when they needed it. It moved when ordered. It could be repaired. It had support. No tank feels safe when under fire, but reliability builds confidence, and confidence wins battles. Beyond steel and fire, we've talked about armor, we've talked about strategy, we've talked about production, but there's something more important than all of that. The men inside the M4 Sherman. A tank is not just steel, it's a crew of 5 human beings: commander, gunner, loader, driver, assistant driver. Inside that metal shell they faced deafening explosions, blinding smoke, heat that could suffocate, fear that never fully disappeared. When critics call a tank inferior, they forget who was inside it. Courage under fire. Sherman crews knew they were not driving the heaviest tank on the battlefield. They knew German armor like the Panther tank had stronger guns, yet they still advanced. They adapted, using speed instead of armor, using teamwork instead of brute force, using numbers instead of pride. They learned to flank, they learned to coordinate, they learned to survive. The real reason it became a killer, it wasn't because it suddenly became invincible. It became deadly because it was everywhere. It kept moving. It worked with infantry and air power. It returned to battle even after damage. And most importantly, because the crews believed in it. Confidence transforms a machine, the symbol of a different kind of power. The Sherman represents something larger than a tank. It represents industrial strength. It represents adaptability. It represents strategy over ego. While Germany focused on building fewer, heavier machines, the Allies focused on building enough machines to win an entire war. And that difference decided history. Final documentary outro. At first they laughed at it. They said it was weaker. They said it wouldn't survive. But war is not about looking powerful. It is about enduring. And when the smoke cleared across Europe, it wasn't the heaviest tank standing alone. It was the one that kept coming, again and again and again. The tank that everyone mocked became a killer. History often glorifies the most intimidating machines, but wars are rarely won by intimidation alone. They are won by systems, by logistics, by coordination, by production. The tank that everyone mocked didn't become deadly overnight. It became deadly because a nation built an entire strategy around it, and that strategy worked. At the beginning of the war, it was mocked, compared unfavorably, laughed at, dismissed as inferior. But by the end, it was rolling through liberated cities. The tank that wasn't good enough helped crush one of the most powerful war machines in history. Sometimes the weapon everyone doubts becomes the one that changes.